Hey, what's worse than having a squatter in your house? Now, we've talked about this numerous times. This is a problem. Why is it accepted that somebody could break into private property, squat, and then have legal protections? How is this even remotely possible in the United States of America?
I have a little bit of information about that. Sorry.
Tony,
Sorry.
Stop it, will you please? Didn't the governor here in Florida, didn't DeSantis sign some legislation to protect owners and stop the squatters scam fester? I asked you to look that up.
He recently signed a bill, House Bill 621,
Right.
which protects property rights of homeowners and remedies against squatting to increase penalties on squatters.
But can you imagine? You go on vacation and some group of squatters breaks into your house. In some cases, they'll change the locks on you, and they're living in your house. They're sleeping in your bed. They're sitting on your couch. They're watching your TV. They're eating your food out of the pantry and fridge. And you don't have rights? And in some places, it's difficult to get the squatters out of your house. How the hell does that happen? I mean, that's maniacal. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is what's worse than having a squatter in your house? How about having a squatter that has a goat in your house as well? And then the goat starts biting
or squatting and pooping
the rightful owner of the house when they come back.
The goat attacked the owner? The hell?
That's crazy. I didn't know goats attacked people.
You can yell at him. Ah! Look, that one goat.
You could train a goat to attack.
A hoarder squatter with a large aggressive goat refused to leave a house in San Antonio, Texas for months.
So not just a squatter, but a hoarder squatter.
A hoarder squatter with an attack goat. So, and you'd think Texas would have protections against squatters and...
You think they'd have their gun laws?
Fester, go back to that story, would you please? All right, Governor, this was what? This was back in March.
Yeah,
March 27th.
This is from the governor's office.
Governor DeSantis signs legislation to end the squatters scam in Florida. Today, Florida Governor DeSantis signed House Bill 621, which protects property rights, provides homeowners remedies against squatting, and increases penalties on squatters. We're putting an end to the squatters scam in Florida, said Governor DeSantis, while other states are siding with the squatters. What freaking upside-down universe can squatters break into your house and the law sides with them? What am I missing here?
Loopholes.
Thank you.
Many, many loopholes.
I wonder, what time is it, 7:12? Does anyone listening right now, does anyone have a squatter story? Does anyone have any friend, or do you know someone that had a squatter nightmare, or did you have a squatter nightmare? If so, I got time for a call or two here. 800-990-1047. 800-990-1047. If you've got a squatter story. 800-990-1047. It's 7:12 in the morning. I don't know if the squatter phones are going to light up, but I thought I'd give it a shot. 800-990-1047. But at least here in the state of Florida, we've taken some action to protect individuals. Under the new House bill signed into law, a property owner can request law enforcement to immediately remove a squatter from the property if the following conditions are met. The individual has unlawfully entered and remains on the property. Duh! Why? Look, the squatter phones are ringing.
Yeah, I mean, this has been an issue all through the state.
But, I mean, this is like a nightmare scenario. All right, Rico, let's go to the squatter phones. Rico in Tampa. Rico, hi, you're on the MJ Morning Show.
Hey, MJ, you guys, how you doing? Hey, listen, my daughter rents a property here in Florida, and right behind the house, there's another property that the landlord rents. And that lady has stopped paying rent almost 8 months now. And she completely says that she's not going to pay rent, and he cannot get her out of there. And yet the funny thing is, I was staying in my daughter's house a couple of weeks ago, And I'm receiving Amazon packages from this lady who's not paying her rent, but yet has enough money to pay for the Amazon packages. And it's every day.
Wow.
And this guy cannot do a damn thing about it.
Yeah, that sucks.
Language, sir.
You know, the story that you're mentioning, that's like someone that was in and then they stop paying their rent and they won't get out. You know, the squatters I'm thinking about that are the real nightmare are folks that will just break into someone's house while they're away. You could even be at work during the day and squatters break in. And in some states, they get protections. That's ridiculous. Rico, thanks for the call. How about Deborah Ann, St. Pete, and I guess also from New York City. Hello, Deborah Ann. Welcome to the MJ Morning Show.
Hi, how are you guys?
What happened?
So they didn't break into my house. What really happened was one of the people was working with me, and I allowed them to come in. They had two people other than them come in. They turned on sorry, trying to get my breath. I was just outside. They turned on the internet, and they put on the TV, the cable. I couldn't get it turned off. I couldn't get them to leave. They took over my house.
Goodness.
I had to turn my daughter over to my mother because one of them was doing drugs.
My God.
The one guy was working at my job, was stealing money from the safe.
My God, this is like it's a compounded nightmare. All right.
All right.
Yeah.
Damn brutal.
And then I came home one day after visiting my family, and I told them that. I said, my family said that if I had a gun, I would kill them. So,
Hey, this is getting deep.
so
Whoa.
by that weekend, they moved out.
All right. Well,
was hardcore.
Deborah, thank you. Brian in Lakeland. Brian, you're on the MJ Morning Show. Hi.
Hey, how you doing? My ex-wife actually had a drug dealer squatter charm her about 7-8 years ago, and this was out in Port Richey, New Port Richey area, and he stayed on her couch for a week. She was trying to be nice to him.
Right.
He was playing homeless, right? I went and helped her when she wanted to get him out and he wouldn't leave. I went and changed the locks. This guy busted the window, opened the door from the inside, and let himself in.
Yep.
While my ex-wife was away, called the cops. Cops say civil matter. Nothing we can do about it. You got to go evict him.
That's and where was this?
This is Newport Richey.
On what freaking planet should somebody be able to move into your place and lock you out and have law enforcement protect the squatter? I mean, so luckily here in Florida, the law changed and Governor DeSantis signed into law a House bill back in March that gives Florida homeowners protections. And I said, hey, let's go to the squatter phones and have people call in and tell us some like nightmare squatter stories if you're aware or if it's happened to you or someone you know. Two more calls I want to grab before we move on. Let me grab Kerry in Safety Harbor. Kerry, you're on the MJ Morning Show. Hi.
Good morning. How are you?
Doing fine. What happened?
All right. So, I got two good ones. One real fast one was the one that you want to hear, where they don't even belong. They never were a renter. They just broke in after a tenant moved out for the weekend. They broke in. I came there. The police said, you got to go through the eviction process, which in Illinois could take over a year. But when they finally did vacate after I went through the whole process, they ripped out the copper and everything with it. They took anything they could break out of the house.
Well, Roxanne has told the story that she's had in some of her rental properties, Roxanne and Dig Dug, they've had like some drug users like all frigged up on meth. Where'd Roxanne go? Can you get her back in the studio? Here, for whatever reason, like a lot of drug users, they'll disassemble like electrical outlets. It's not like they're stealing copper. It's like these meth heads, they just have this propensity to like unscrew electrical sockets. It's like insane.
They'll spend all day for 60 cents.
All right, so what else?
Well, when COVID started, the cops weren't even allowed to do their jobs in Illinois. I had an SRO, which is a single-room occupancy. And what they did was they all stopped paying rent. So these were renters, but they stopped paying rent.
Yep.
And a year and a half later, I had a whole 30 units, nobody paying rent, that the city finally came in and removed everybody so we could board the building up after they tore the whole building apart.
Oh, my.
And it was taken over by drug users. Drug dealers took over the building, and it was like New Jack City.
Oh, my God.
I love that movie.
I know, it's good.
All right, thanks, Carrie. Have a great day. All right, one more call, and we got to move on. Kyle in Tampa. Kyle, you're on the MJ Morning Show. Do you have a squatter story?
Yes, I sure do. Good morning, MJ,
Hey.
And the crew.
Hi.
So this was in Sacramento before I moved out here about 2 years ago, and it was my first ever property that I ever bought. And after the 30 days waiting for the tenants to get out, I called my buddy up, and he was going to be my roommate at the time, and I told him to get all the stuff and head over to the house because I was at work that day. So he gathered all the stuff and went to the condo that I bought, and he was trying to unlock the door, and the keys weren't working. And so he's like, this is weird. So he called me and said, hey, the keys aren't working. I'm like, well, that's weird. Is anybody there? He goes, let me try. So he knocks on the door. This lady opens up and goes, hello? And while he's holding a couch with his other buddy, and he's like, you don't live here. And they got in the whole argument, and my buddy called me and said, hey, you got somebody living in here. I'm like, oh, my gosh. You know, and I'm like 20 years old at the time, and I'm like super afraid of this situation. And so I called the cops. I get off work early. I go there, and the cops were telling me, yeah, there's nothing we can really do. You might have to go to the court about this. And I was like, well, I have all my paperwork that I just bought the place, and luckily enough, I had a copy somehow in my closing papers of an eviction notice that she signed. So they're like, well, this is kind of all the documentation we need. So they wrestled her for about 30 minutes. It got pretty nasty, and it took 3 cops to get on top of her just to get her out. And when she was coming downstairs, she was screaming at me, and she was. Later, I found out that there was like meth needles and spoons, and like she trashed the whole place up, cutting the carpets, the blinds, spray painting on the walls, and so yeah, that was something else.
There you go. These like nightmare squatter stories, and at least there are better protections here in Florida. Thank you, buddy. Have a great day, Kyle.
Absolutely. You too.